morning, Starbucks and how can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to order 4,000 lattes to go, please. No, just kidding.
Fascinating how back then the world consisted of flip phones and the most popular game on the phone was Snake. But a technical revolution was on the rise. The iPhone, a magical device that will change the way we interact with our phones forever. In 2023, we can't even imagine a world where buttons ruled our phones. But believe it or not, we lived with these phones for years, with real buttons where you had to touch the number 9 4 times to type the letter Z. That was until 2007. The iPhone came in like a hero from a parallel dimension, armed with a mystical power known as multi-touch screen. The revolution had arrived and will change everything. Let's take a look at the story of the iPhone.
There is a major breakthrough headed to American consumers. It's the iPhone.
The iPhone, new iPhone.
iPhone.
In 2007, the world was introduced to a device that would redefine the concept of a mobile phone. The first iPhone. Launched by Apple under the visionary leadership of Steve Jobs, the iPhone was a game changer in the truest sense.
I think we're going to hit a grand slam with this.
It wasn't just a phone. It was a revolutionary device that combined the three products into one. A widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communication device. At the time of its launch, the mobile phone market was dominated by brands like Nokia and Motorola. Phones like the Nokia 1200 and Motorola Q were popular primarily for their basic communication features and utility. However, the iPhone brought a paradigm shift. It wasn't just about making calls or sending texts, it was about experiencing technology.
The real magic comes when you use your finger on that thing. You scroll lists by flicking like this, and it's like a roulette wheel. It goes.
The first iPhone introduced several key features and innovations that set it apart. The most notable was the touch display. The 3.5-inch display was not just larger compared to other phones, but it was also more intuitive thanks to multi-touch technology. This made navigating the phone's interface, browsing the web, and interacting with applications a breeze. The first iPhone was a commercial success.
Apple's stock surged while competitors, including the BlackBerry's manufacturer, were hit hard.
Despite its high price tag, it managed to sell over 6 million units before it was discontinued. This success marked the beginning of the iPhone's dominance in the smartphone market. A fun fact about the first iPhone is that its concept dates back to 1983. A designer named Hartmut Esslinger designed a landline phone that featured a stylus-controlled interface, a precursor to the touch interface of the modern iPhone. Do you remember the iPhone 2? Me neither, because at the time Apple decided to turn things around and go straight to the iPhone 3G and 3GS. That's why after the 1 comes the 3 for us. Building on the success of the first iPhone, Apple introduced the iPhone 3G in 2008. The 3G in its name referred to its new 3G network capability. This enabled faster web browsing, faster downloads, and improved the overall user experience.
We've learned so much with the first iPhone. We've taken everything we've learned and more, and we've created the iPhone 3G.
And the best part? It was more affordable than the previous model, starting at just $199. Steve Jobs was all about the location service feature, and it was going to be groundbreaking. With its faster 3G networks, built-in GPS and more storage, it was a big deal. Perhaps the most significant addition was the App Store, which opened up a world of possibilities for users and developers alike. It transformed the iPhone from a device into a platform and had a multitude of applications. That was the beginning of apps as we know them today. Then in 2009, Apple released the iPhone 3GS with the S standing for speed. It was twice as fast as its predecessor and featured an improved 3-megapixel camera capable of recording videos. This was the first time in the iPhone history. Back then, iPhones were much cheaper than they are now. You only had to pay $200, and after the 3GS, the iPhone 3G was only $99. The good old days.
For 2010, we're going to take the biggest leap since the original iPhone. And so today, we're introducing iPhone 4.
In 2010, Apple introduced the iPhone 4, marking a significant milestone in iPhone development. The iPhone 4 wasn't just an upgrade, it was a complete redesign that set the standard for future smartphones. The iPhone 4 had a sleek and flat design with a glass front and back, a complete change from the rounded plastic of the previous designs. It was the first iPhone with a front camera with which you could finally take selfies. One of the most notable changes was the introduction of the Retina display. With a resolution of 960 by 640 pixels, the iPhone 4 screen offered 4 times the pixel count of previous models, resulting in sharper text and more detailed images. The prices were also very human and started at $199. Fast forward to 2011 when the iPhone 4S was released, with an improved 8-megapixel camera and the introduction of Siri.
How can I help you?
A voice-activated personal assistant that could answer questions, send messages, set reminders and much more. Both the iPhone 4 and 4S were commercial successes, selling millions worldwide. However, this era was also marked by the death of Apple founder Steve Jobs.
Death of a man who literally changed the way we live our lives every day. Steve Jobs, the visionary founder and leader of Apple Computer, has died at the age of 56.
His vision and leadership were essential in the development and success of the iPhone. Rest in peace, Steve. After his death, Tim Cook officially took over as the CEO of Apple, which he still is, successfully to this day. In 2012, Apple introduced the iPhone 5. The new model featured a larger 5-inch display, allowing for an additional suite of apps on the home screen. It also introduced a new smaller connector called Lightning, which allowed for faster data transfer and charging. The iPhone 5 was thinner and lighter than the previous one, but featured a more powerful A6 chip. 5 million units were sold in the first week, not bad. At this point, the App Store had grown exponentially and there were nearly 800,000 apps available for download. This massive ecosystem of apps was a key selling point for the iPhone. In 2013, Apple launched 2 new models, the iPhone 5S and the iPhone 5C. The iPhone 5S introduced Touch ID, a fingerprint recognition system built into the home button. This provided a secure and convenient way to unlock the phone and authenticate App Store and iTunes purchases. The iPhone 5C wasn't that successful and the only big difference I can think of was their horrible design. Next came the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. These twins were released on September 19, 2014. The iPhone 6 featured a 4.7-inch screen while the 6 Plus featured a huge 5.5-inch display. The camera was upgraded from 8 megapixel to 12 megapixel and 3D touch was introduced. 1 year later came the iPhone 6S and 6S Plus. Better cameras capable of recording 4K videos, a 5 megapixel front camera, faster A9 chips and a sleek rosé gold color option. You can also see here that every iPhone model had new functions, but the groundbreaking extensions were no longer there, rather small improvements. Later in 2016, Apple launched the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. These models led to several changes. The most controversial thing was the headphone jack, because it was completely missing. A decision that sparked heated debate but also paved the way for the rise of wireless headphones.
It's just so much stuff packed into an iPhone. So this battle to fit more and more stuff into the iPhone every year has of course come with its sacrifices.
Do you think this was a brilliant plan of Apple? I mean, without the headphone jack, you were pretty much forced to buy wireless headphones, and guess who's selling them? Apple. Man, I hated them for that. And in my opinion, apart from the usual suspects like a better camera or better performance, there weren't really any big changes. That same year, Apple celebrated a major milestone, selling its billionth iPhone. This success underscores the immense popularity of the iPhone and its impact on the smartphone industry. In 2017, Apple introduced the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. These models represented an evolution of iPhone design and featured a backside that enabled wireless charging, a first in the iPhone lineup. The glass back also gave the phones a more premium look and feel. And like the previous ones, the usual improvements, the camera, the processor and so on. Next, Apple introduced the iPhone X, skipping number 9. It was released a decade after the first iPhone. The iPhone X represented a radical redesign with a borderless OLED Super Retina display, the elimination of the home button and the introduction of Face ID.
Here is iPhone 10. Now, unlocking it is as easy as looking at it and swiping up. And, you know, let's try that again. Ho ho ho!
Face ID uses advanced facial recognition technology to unlock the phone and authenticate transactions. In 2018, Apple launched the iPhone XS and XS Max. These models were equipped with the A12 chip, which was faster and more efficient than the A11. They also offered up to 512 GB of storage, the highest capacity available for an iPhone at the time. In the same year, Apple also introduced the iPhone XR. This model was positioned as a budget alternative to the XS series, with a 6.1-inch LCD display and a single camera on the back. It was available in 6 bright colors. The iPhone XR brought a little fun to the iPhone lineup. In 2019, Apple launched the iPhone 11 series. The base model, the iPhone 11, featured the A13 chip, improved battery life and a dual camera system. The iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max represented the top end of the range. They featured a triple camera system that also included a telephoto lens, and they also offered up to 5 hours longer battery life than the old ones. The cheapest one in the US had a price tag of only $499. Later in 2020, Apple introduced the iPhone 12 series. These models introduced the A14 chip, a ceramic shield front cover for battery durability and compatibility with 5G networks. The iPhone 12 mini was a new addition to the range, offering the same features as the iPhone 12 in a smaller, lighter body. It has been viewed as the world's smallest, thinnest and lightest 5G phone. The iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max pushed the boundaries of what an iPhone can do. They featured a LiDAR scanner for enhanced augmented reality experiences and better low-light autofocus. They also introduced ProRAW, a new image format that gives photographers more control over editing. In 2021, Apple introduced the iPhone 13 series. The iPhone 13 and 13 mini came with the A15 chip, improved battery life and, for the first time, up to 1 TB of storage. The camera system had also been improved. All models had optical image stabilization with sensor shifting and a cinematic mode. The iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max introduced ProMotion technology with a 120Hz refresh rate, allowing for smoother scrolling and more responsive touch input. The 14th model was introduced in 2022. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus featured an expanded display and advanced safety features like crash detection and emergency SOS via satellite. With the new camera system, you could also take good pictures in poor light conditions. The iPhone 14 Pro featured an A16 Bionic chip, a dynamic island feature and an always-on display function. And the iPhone 14 Pro Max offered a 6.7-inch display and a battery life of 29 hours of video playback. This was the history of the iPhone as we know it. In between, there were a few iPhone models that I left out in this video, but this can be integrated in a new video. The introduction of the iPhone and the development is a prime example of innovation followed by optimization. As you may have noticed, I didn't have much to say about the new iPhones other than that they were a bit more powerful. However, you can't blame Apple for that. They had already almost perfected the basic product, the iPhone, and over the years smaller things were added. Every product goes through the same cycle. Let's see which device will replace the iPhone in the distant future.